inside another edition of Celtics Roundtable here on CLNS Media. CLNS Media, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage of your Boston Celtics. Welcome inside, everybody. It is the first day back from the All-Star break, finally, as we have some basketball starting tonight. The Celtics get started, of course, Friday. Today's show brought to you empowered by eHarmony. Go to eHarmony right now, eHarmony.com. and use the promo code Boston Celtics at checkout. You get a free month when you sign up for a 3-month subscription. That's eHarmony.com. Use the promo code Boston Celtics. Evan Valenti, Sam Sheehan, Lucky Spipe, and Matt Ignal. Well, we're back Friday. Celtics get started. And obviously we're all very excited just to watch basketball again. And sometimes college is too rough and I can't watch college basketball. So I caught up on started watching Parks and Rec. And I played a lot of Fortnite. But other than that, still jonesing for basketball. Second half about to get started. A bunch of storylines that we're probably going to get to and talk about. But I think the most important one, as we were talking before the show started, before the recording, I think one of the big things we're all very excited for, and I think we've all been kind of developing this kind of fever throughout the regular season, maybe tempering it a little bit, except for myself and maybe Lucky, who's probably the biggest Jaylen Brown fan there is. But Jaylen Brown, who during the break was like, I've done a lot of improvements over the offseason. That's why I'm better than I was last year. And when I go into the offseason next year, I'll work on some more stuff. But Jaylen has been a nice surprise again this year. Second leading scorer on the team, has been able to shoot pretty consistently from three-point range, near 40%. Has attacked the rim with reckless abandon at points, and it's been a really good lockdown defender. I'm really excited to see what Jaylen Brown brings the second half of the season. Anybody have anything of note that they're really the thing about Jaylen Brown they're most excited about?
Yeah, I'll go. His mentality, I think you said it. Jaylen Brown clearly wants to be a great player, and he's putting in the work to do it. There's no other explanation for the rapid improvement that he's shown over the last year.
Wow, I can't believe we really dodged a bullet there that, he might be too intelligent. Remember that critique from draft night? That's the most offensive, almost awful take, and you're kind of seeing the counterbalance of that here, of just, oh, no, I mean, just that has nothing to do with it. He's just a guy who loves working on himself and improving himself, and, it's just offensive to talk about athletes with that, just in that tone. But I think the thing that I'm most excited for to see with Jaylen Brown, I'm excited to see him in the dunk contest next year, especially after that tweet when he what was it? He tweeted something that was just ice cold about watching the dunks and seeing which ones he'd deign to maybe consider doing next year.
Well, he was going left-handed through the legs during the Futures game. He was just on breakaways. He had one in traffic and then one a little bit in less traffic, where he went through the legs and left hand dunked it, even though he was right-handed. I thought that was awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
I mean, I think that's the iciest thing to do is the fact that he's the highest scoring player that's playing within the first 3 years, as proven by the Rising Stars game. And it's the iciest thing he could do is, he had better dunks in a game than they had, in a dunk contest with all the charades of having multiple hoops in that hoopla. He doesn't need it. He just needs to win. Well, he didn't actually win, but he scored the most points, and that's what's most important here, folks. It's the Rising Stars game.
Did everything in one attempt.
Dropping 35 in an exhibition game is always where you want to be. Who cares if you win? Right? Screw that. One thing about Jaylen, I think people it's kind of gone on the radar. I haven't checked it recently because I've been so checked out on Boston Celtics stuff, but up until pretty recently, Jaylen Brown led the league in defensive win shares, which I know has its own problems. But when you lead the league in a category that's pretty positive, that's pretty impressive. And I like the fact that Jaylen has really stepped up as a defensive playmaker for them. And when you put him and Smart on the floor at the same time, they're just going to have a lot of problems. And that's the one thing that I'm looking the most forward to, because Boston, as you look at what they've been able to struggle with the past couple of games, and everybody's talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but the point still needs to be made. Boston, in order to be a very good team and to get deep in the playoffs, they have to be good defensively. And it can't just be Marcus Smart being the defensive unicorn that I've been calling Marcus Smart recently. It has to be other guys. Jaylen Brown is the obvious guy, next man up in that particular category. And I think, his development on that side of the ball cannot be understated. He has been amazing for them as an offensive playmaker. Don't get me wrong. The three-point shooting is ridiculous. But that defensive leap that he made from being a guy that could kind of maybe play in a playoff series to a guy that's going to cover the best player in a playoff series and in less than a calendar year is still the one thing that jumps out the most about Jaylen Brown.
But I don't think you can discount what he's shown over the past couple of weeks on the offensive end. Like the types of passes that he's been making, I just haven't seen from him before. Like he executed. I can't remember what the last game was. It's been so long, but he was like doing like wraparound passes like along the baseline. Like I didn't know he had that in him. Not to mention, on the break, he's executing these combo moves that just a few weeks ago it seemed like he was guaranteed to lose. To me, it looks like a guy who's putting it together, and I really couldn't be more excited for what he's shown over the past few weeks. I don't know if it's reflected so much in the numbers, but I'm seeing something different on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I try to pay attention when players talk about things because the players are actually probably the most knowledgeable people about the sport. And they talk a lot about the game slowing down and, kind of when you start being able to see the game at, a different speed. And it looks like that's what's going on with Jaylen. I agree with Matt over these past few games where, he's really figuring out that he's just more athletic than guys at the NBA level. And if you're an elite athlete like that who can, out athlete guys at the NBA level, you can do a lot of cool stuff, especially if you know how to play. And Jaylen's really figured out how to play. He's where he needs to be. He's just like the way he rebounds is still the thing that really sticks out to me. Like I just cannot believe it's such a boon. And I think he's an enormous reason the Celtics rebounding numbers have swung so far versus last year. Is just because he, when you have a guy who can rebound like that out of a wing position, it's really incredible, and I don't think watch Jaylen Brown in traffic against guys that are like 4 inches taller than him, and it's really amazing to watch.
He's been working out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys think about him running pick and roll a little bit more? We've seen it a couple times over the past couple of weeks, but I really think that I think long term, if you really want to unlock like his full potential, I think that that's a way to go get easy buckets through the pick and roll.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but I don't want to mess with the offensive chemistry that the Celtics have right now. Like it's so beautiful out there as it is. Why not? It's like, what are they going to put up 60 points in three quarters again? What's the worst that can happen? It's fine. Yeah, sure. But this is the kind of stuff Brad needs to look at, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're talking about offensive chemistry and how the Celtics may be able to come together and how Jaylen Brown may be the factor in that offensive chemistry. Well, develop your chemistry with your future lover today with eHarmony. Today's show is brought to you in part by eHarmony. And folks, trust me, if you've done any part of online dating, you've gone through the following things. You've tried online dating, you've run into lazy text messages, right? Dead-end conversations and random matches that just frankly don't go anywhere and they don't turn into dates. You just forget about people for months. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, I remember talking to you 5 weeks ago. What's going on, right? Well, you can't really get to know somebody just by their picture. That's where eHarmony comes into play, because eHarmony is unlike any other online dating site because they take steps other dating sites don't in order to find you a more compatible match. They are built to help you find lasting, meaningful relationships, and they're not just a shallow hookups. They've helped over 1 million people around the world find their match, be one of the million today. eHarmony uses years and years of science, data, psychological research to help you find the right match. They just bring compatible people together. Be one of those people. There are plenty of hookup sites out there. eHarmony's not that. They're looking for true love, and right now, our listeners can get a free month of eHarmony when they sign up for a 3-month trial. Just enter our code Boston Celtics at checkout. Again, that's a free month with a 3-month subscription by going on to eHarmony.com using the promo code Boston Celtics at checkout. Stop waiting and start your journey to a satisfying, meaningful relationship. It can be fun to play around with an online dating app or two, but when you are ready to finally fall in love with somebody and have a meaningful relationship, there is only one app that brings you real love, and that is eHarmony. Come see how eHarmony can change your life. Go to eHarmony.com and get started and use that promo code Boston Celtics at checkout. Evan Valenti, Sam Sheehan, Matt Ignal, Lucky's Pipe, full house, full table, so to speak, here on Celtics Roundtable. Talking second half. Jaylen Brown obviously going to be a big part of the second half. His development's been fun to watch over the past couple of weeks. I agree with everything that's been said here. His development in the passing game, offensively, his IQ has been off the charts. The one guy that's kind of gone the other way a little bit is Jayson Tatum. And obviously people are trying to figure out what's wrong with Jayson Tatum's shooting stroke. Is it that pinky? I had somebody throw out the idea on Twitter the other day that maybe it's because he's become a dad and he's just too much time spent with the youngster.
Oh, nice, man.
That was an interesting theory. I just thought I've never heard that before. I threw it out there. It was nice. But Tatum has taken a little step back, and I think Boston, again, if they really want to go far, and it's hard to rely on 19-year-olds to really be really consistent, but Tatum is a kind of a special one. But Boston needs more from him on the offensive side of the ball, and when they figure out what their new rotation is going to be, because Brad has talked about tinkering with those, like they have to find a way to make him consistently a playmaking threat, especially when he's with the second unit.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the last sentence right there. I think that's the thing, is they're trying to get Jayson Tatum involved, and that's kind of the biggest difference that coincides, I think, with his drop off. Is he's more involved. He's not playing like a 3-and-D way. He's not playing like Semi Ojeleye out there. Like they're running more plays for him, or giving him a longer leash to go out there, try and make these moves off the dribble, try and take the play more like the player we saw in college. That's not going to be as efficient. But I think it will help his development. And I think that's a conscious choice by Brad Stevens and his whole coaching staff to, let a 19-year-old kind of go out there and take his lumps. I think as far as the shooting stroke, I'm not going to panic too much about it. I mean, we knew that it was probably not sustainable to be literally the best shooter in the NBA. So, I'm not too worried about him taking a little step back. But I just think that Jayson Tatum, I think we're going to see him kind of settle back down. I think he's going to end up playing a little bit better, than he has been recently. But I also don't expect him to. We should not expect the ultra hyper efficient, just 3-point machine that we saw in the first couple months of the season. That's just outrageous expectations.
Yeah, I was tracking for a lot of the season Jayson Tatum's true shooting percentage, and like every game after the game I'd update it like, here are the guys that he has a better true shooting percentage than. It'd be like Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, like Giannis and James Harden, and you're like, no, this is just flat out not sustainable. This can't work. This can't happen.
Yeah.
The stroke still looks great though. I don't think anything's changed about that.
I'll tell you this. When I went down to the I went to the Atlanta game. I was on the Garden Report for CLNS, and shout out to Nick Gelso for everything that happened. But I was watching Tatum shoot before the game, and like he hit every one but one. And I was like, no, he's just having a rough time. Like he can obviously shoot the crap out of the basketball. Again, I walked out of there, and I was like, I don't know how Jayson Tatum shot 35% from college three when he's out here open gym like 80%. It was just bizarre. But yeah, I think that'll come back down to earth, and it'll get back to maybe that upper 40, not upper 40, upper 30, low 40% range, and it'll top out from there.
Agreed. Not worried at all about his ability to put the ball in the basket from distance, from the mid range, whatever. That's like his specialty. At the rim, that's sort of where like long term I have a little bit more concerns with him. I don't know if right now you can consider him a 3-level scorer. He's just not shooting well around the rim. The numbers are pretty ugly. Recently, he's just been coughing the ball up over and over on his drives. He doesn't really like explode at the rim. He tries to kind of go around guys, and it hasn't worked so much recently. I'm not worried about the shooting. This is totally what I expected to happen. I feel like long term the rim finishing is something I'm a little worried about. Go ahead.
Yeah, do you think, Matt, that maybe just start the rim finishing, that might just be like kind of a byproduct of him having a little bit of tunnel vision as rookies do? Like it seems like he doesn't really have that extra pass. I don't see him make that extra pass a lot once he decides he's going to go to the rim. And I think that defenders are starting to figure that out, and the help is cheating a lot more. You'll see bigs, shade him a lot more, and he seems to have to, put up a lot more difficult shots than there need to be because that help is coming sometimes. And I think that maybe him learning how to pass a little bit better out of those attacks might be more helpful.
Yeah, and he'll get better at that. He'll get stronger too, and will be able to absorb contact a little bit more. One of the knocks on him coming out of college was that he would take some contact and kind of, go the opposite direction. But we know he's good at drawing fouls. It's something he's going to learn. It's something he's going to get better at. He's probably just never going to really be that elite around the rim. But neither was Carmelo Anthony ever, and he turned out okay. So, and Jayson Tatum as a defender is so much better. None other than Jerry West was apparently like raving about his defense. We heard on some broadcast or another, and that's all he really wanted to talk about with regard to Tatum. So he's a good player.
Yeah, that guy might know a thing or two about talent. Anybody have any inclinations as to what Boston needs to do about their rotation tinkering? Because Brad has hinted at and said publicly that there are going to be different rotations come this part of the year. Lucky, you got any idea what you would change out of curiosity?
Well, I was thinking about it when Terry was going off, but like I would like to see Smart start. I know starters doesn't really matter in the greater scheme of things. That's what I like to say.
Got it in there.
I think it matters what they finish with, and I think Smart has been doing that anyways. But I think they could improve by playing that lineup, that 5-man group of him in place of Morris at the power forward.
Yeah,
go off, King. Go off, King. Tell it, look, tell it. Yes. We got to get Marcus Smart back in the mix. That is what I'm talking about. That is why I'm ultimately not too worried. I'm gonna get trouble with my roommates, but this is what I've been saying all year. Like Marcus Smart is such an underrated player. He's the glue that holds so much of this team together. Like his flaws are just so visible. They've got like the reflectors. Like you're driving, you got like the little reflectors on the highway and stuff like that. Marcus Smart's weaknesses all have like 9 of those glued to him, and everything that he's good at is not something you see watching the ball. There's been some really interesting stuff coming out. NBA.com just released some new numbers, things like box outs, new like PNR numbers. You want to know? Check out players under 6'6" with box outs. You guys aren't going to believe who's up there at the front. That's right. That's my man, Marcus Smart. So
right.
I just think that, getting Marcus Smart back will really help shore up this rotation, because I know as much as we love, Shemi and some of these other, deep bench guys, they're not ready to help yet in the postseason. And he's a rookie. Like we forget about that because he's the 2nd-round draft pick and the Ojale factory is always open. But he's, not a great 3-point shooter. His defense is there, but it's just, offensively – is he really offensively that much better than Marcus Smart? Like, no. He's not at all. He's not remotely, the same threat that Marcus Smart is. So this is what, I think getting Marcus Smart back really helps the Celtics lineups gel a little bit better. And I'm interested to see what a Smart and, Greg Monroe can do, having passers like that, 2 guys who can pass the ball that way on the second unit. I'm really interested to see what happens there.
I just like the fact that starting Smart I wouldn't do, but the one positive thing there I think you can get from starting a guy like Marcus Smart is the energy level from the jump will be different. And that's a thing that's struggled Boston. Boston has struggled with the past couple of games is getting off to these slow starts and then getting down in games by double digits. And sometimes you need a little kick in the ass, and Marcus is the guy that's going to always kick you in the ass. It's just I wouldn't start him, but I know why you make the example there, because I just think they've been so lackadaisical.
His numbers with Kyrie are like absurd. Like, and it fits my mold of like we should get Kyrie as many threes as humanly possible. And if he's playing like 10 minutes a game as like a pseudo shooting guard, just like bombing threes, like give me that and more. And I don't like we can kind of lessen the high usage, like crazy, like he does it better than anybody, like, quadruple moves through the paint, like weaving in and out. But like he also misses some too, but he doesn't miss a lot of threes. That fake behind the back
dribble he did in the All-Star game, you guys picked up on that, where he went like fake behind the back. I've never seen anybody do that. The fake behind the, like he like palmed it on the inside and back. I've never seen that happen. He did it left-handed too. I've never seen that in my life. You guys pick it up? You guys see that? I've never seen that before. That was bananas.
All the time. I have that in my arsenal.
Yeah. Well,
you ever tried to guard? Clearly, never tried to guard Matt at the Y. Like,
exactly.
I ended up crossed up.
The JCC man. I like what you said earlier about the Smart Monroe sort of thing, because Marcus Smart has like excelled with guys with great hands, and I hadn't thought of it before. We all remember, his chemistry with Tyler Zeller was great. Greg Monroe's got a great set of hands.
With Al Horford this year has been really great. They've had a lot of pick and dives where Marcus just throws it out of the hoop and Al will throw it down. So
yeah, but Monroe's got great hands, and Marcus Smart's really good at pick and roll passing. So I think that's something that I'm interested in exploring, and maybe Brad Stevens had the same thought. I'm sure we'll get to see that together now that Marcus Smart is back and didn't cut the tendons in his hands or whatever.
Yeah, well, just the Celtics. I feel like that's the thing that the Celtics kind of missed the most. We've been so focused on the Celtics, being rock fighters as far as shooting goes for so long, and that's still not totally remedied. But I don't think shooting is the team's biggest weakness anymore. I think it is passing. I think that you've got the only really plus passers the team really has are Kyrie Irving and Al Horford as far as like solid rotation guys. And then you got to go to, Marcus Smart. And I think like Greg Monroe might be like the fourth best passer on the team, depending on how you feel about, Marcus Morris. Terry's like a shooting guard. Bless his heart out there. Terry is really an undersized shooting guard, which I think is good. Like, I think when you see Terry lock in and be aggressive like he was when Kyrie is out, that's when you kind of get the best of Terry Rozier. Because it enables him, it empowers him to go get the, do those give and goes, go get the board off the glass, leap 9 stories into the air, and sky for the rebounds and go the other way. But I think the Celtics need guys who can play make a little bit more, and I think having 2 guys who can play make, one in the paint and one on the outside in Smart and Monroe. I just think that either pick and roll or pick and pop, whatever way you want to go with it, that's going to be dangerous for the Celtics second unit. I'm really interested to see that.
Yeah, and that'll do it for this episode. Go ahead there, LP. Before we sign out,
I was just gonna close it with Bill Simmons might say it's pseudoscience, but the second and third highest 2-man group in net rating is Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Kyrie Irving. So like those trifectas of dudes, like
yeah, more of that going forward, and that will actually do it for this edition of Celtics Roundtable here on CLNS Media. Want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you get at us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. Follow us everywhere. We're on Twitter. We're on iTunes, the Boston Celtics newsfeed. We also are on Stitcher. You can find that on Stitcher as well. You can subscribe to CLNS Media on YouTube. Follow all our podcasts, all that fun stuff. Leave us a review on iTunes if you feel like it. But we love you guys so much. We'll be back very soon with more Celtics Roundtable episodes. Make sure you remember this show is powered by eHarmony. Go to eHarmony right now. Type in Boston Celtics as the promo code. You get a free month of the 3-month subscription. It's a free month, one, with a 3-month subscription. Sam Sheehan, Lucky's Pipe, Matt Ignal, Evan Valenti. We'll see you guys next time on CLNS Media. Celtics Roundtable, out.